My wife and I struggled with infertility for years. We're still trying more options, but we're beginning to lose hope. I have a teenage niece that is like a daughter and a friend to me. Considering I'm doing well financially, I've decided to take care of her education and start a college fund to attend a college of her choice. My brother and his wife, my niece's stepmom, are of course aware of that and they appreciate it very much. They always talk about what a generous, loving uncle I am, unlike my younger brother. Lately, I've been dealing with a series of unusual, unexplainable events, like receiving texts at work pretending to be my wife informing me of some big news, like her being pregnant. Or finding mysterious envelopes in my car when I'm at my parents', and the envelopes contain letters from someone pretending to be my wife again, telling me she was pregnant. My wife and I had no idea who's been playing us like that, but we knew it was someone close and had many that made our suspicion list, including my brother-in-law. Last week I visited my brother's house and my car was parked in their driveway. I was sitting with my brother and sister-in-law, but my niece left for a few minutes, then returned. I finished my coffee and said goodbye and left. While approaching my car, I noticed a sign on the windshield. I took a look and the sign read, "I'm pregnant," written largely. I was confused because I knew no one from this neighborhood and suspected someone who knew me did it. I called my wife and she again said this was false news. So I took the sign and went back to my brother's house to help figure this out. He said someone must have left it on the wrong car, but I explained it had happened before. He just shrugged, but sister-in-law pointed at the sign and said the writing looked similar to my niece's writing style. My brother told her to stop, but I called my niece to come downstairs and asked her. She denied it but got nervous and admitted leaving the sign on my windshield and sending and leaving letters and texts pretending to be my wife. She said she didn't have ill intent, just did it for laughs. I blew up, telling her she was out of line to think mocking mine and my wife's suffering and playing us for months was funny. I said I was mad, disappointed, and won't ever look at her the same. I informed her, my brother and sister-in-law, that I officially cancelled the college fund I started for her due to her cruelty and disrespect for us. She broke down, saying she meant no harm or disrespect and was just messing with and teasing me. My brother said I couldn't make this decision based on my niece's small mistake. He said this was her future that I was giving up on and my decision will have a lasting impact. I cut the conversation and left after he tried to talk me out of giving her this harsh punishment, but to me this was no punishment, just realizing she didn't deserve my hard-earned money. Brother said I exaggerated. Not the idiot, but it probably wouldn't hurt if you sent her a few mysterious texts saying that you won a scholarship, just for laughs. Maybe then she'll learn that saying I meant no harm means nothing after months and months of causing harm. I'm confused about why her own parents don't have a college fund for her. Do they, OP? It wasn't a small mistake, it was going on for 2 months. She definitely doesn't deserve your hard-earned money. You having a college fund for her was a nice thing, but you don't need to keep doing nice things to someone who disrespects you like that. Agree. I do not understand how mocking someone for being infertile is fun. Like, what's the niece's reasoning? Oh, I'll tease them, get their hopes up over things that they can't really control, that they really want but are unable to get, and laugh? And bro must have known what was happening or must have had suspicions. OP, put your niece's college money towards your fertility treatments or whatever path you choose. And you haven't stopped her from having a future. She can find a different way to pay for college. Her father and stepmother can pay, and/or she can get a job or take out loans. It'll be a hard lesson for her to learn, but she did bring it on herself, and I hope that's a lesson she learns from. My wife is a neurosurgeon, and I'm a stay-at-home dad. We have a toddler son who I take care of. I say I because beyond giving birth, my wife hasn't been much of an attentive mother and has left the parenting to me. My wife was given 4 months of maternity leave, but only took 3 months as she said. She bounced back physically and wanted to get back to work as she saves lives. Since then, it's been all on me. My wife never changed a diaper unless I physically couldn't do it. If our son cries in the middle of the night, she wakes me up as she has to be well rested for work or someone could die. On weekends, she sleeps through the morning and won't come out of bed till the afternoon and still won't come near our son. I've talked about it with her more than a few times, and she reasons that I'm good at being a dad and it comes naturally to me, so I should be the one doing most of the work. Along with the parenting, I do all the work for the house, cooking, cleaning, fixing, maintenance. My wife hasn't washed a dish, scrubbed a toilet, or folded a shirt since I quit my job to be a stay-at-home dad. The last time I asked her to pitch in, she said she thinks it's unfair for me to ask more of her when she comes home from work since what she does keeps the lights on and a roof over all of our heads. She also said she deserves some time to relax, especially when she sees people nearly dying and dead almost every single day and is asked to save the lives of her patients. So I surmised that she feels what I do for her isn't important. So if what I do isn't important, why do it? I stopped doing anything for her. If she wanted food, she could get some herself. I was a software developer and saved most of my money, and she's a neurosurgeon. Our household isn't hurting for money. If she wants her laundry done, she can do it. If she wants to come home to a clean house, she can do it. If our shower head falls off, she can do it. Nothing I do is important anyways. Agree? About a week, she cracked. She told me I was being selfish and petty. I told her I was showing her how important what I do is. She told me that I was being a massive idiot and that I behaved like a child. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Honestly, if the situation were reversed, people would be telling you to run. You said you mentioned it to her before and she's refused to participate. If she can't pull her weight both at home and with her child, I don't see why you should make an effort to accommodate her very important life. Clearly she believes she's better than you because she saves lives, but she doesn't consider the job of raising a kid as important. Sometimes the only language people understand is pettiness. Not the idiot. As a stay-at-home parent, most household duties should fall on you. Most, not all. And she is still supposed to be a parent. She's so concerned about having time to relax, but when do you get that? I would tell her that everything she's currently contributing to the relationship can be gotten from a bank. But is that really the kind of spouse and parent she wants to be? And please check here for postnatal depression. Yeah, where is OP's concern for his wife's mental state in this? There is a very clear issue here with her ability to bond with her child, and OP's solution is to make it about himself and let the house fall into disarray, which ultimately affects the child, as no one seems to be acknowledging here. Instead of being a petty idiot, OP, get your butt to couples therapy and figure out what is going on with your wife. She's a medical doctor during a global issue who just had a baby and is showing signs of depression. Something is very clearly wrong here, and it's time you step up and get to the root of the problem. This happened yesterday, but I, 28 male, was at my local mall shopping. So when I finished up, I went out to my car. I parked in an above-ground parking building. When I got to my car, I noticed there were a bunch of kids, I'd say teens, a guess since I didn't bother asking, who were skateboarding, just doing what kids do, really. Then suddenly I heard a blood-curdling scream, and I looked over and I saw a kid on the ground holding his leg. So I walked over to see if everything was okay. Everything was not okay. Everyone was freaking out, and I said I'll call the ambulance, which just made the kid cry harder, saying something along the lines like, "My parents are going to kill me." His friends were saying I should just give him a ride to the hospital as it was only 3 blocks away. I thought for a moment and opted to still call for an ambulance. So I called the ambulance. They showed up like 5 minutes later. The whole time everyone was trying to convince me just to drive him, and I stayed firm of nope, not going to happen, the ambulance is on the way. After the kid was put into the ambulance and I gave my statement to the police show up to calls with ambulances to make sure they have all the needed info. The kids were all still complaining that I could have just given him a ride to the hospital instead of making his parents go into debt. Man, I think they watch too much American TV because we're in Canada. No one goes into debt for an ambulance ride here. Last time I had to get an ambulance to the hospital, it cost me like $50. Thank you, Canadian healthcare. Anyways, later when I came home, I told my girlfriend about what went down and she called me an idiot because you should have just done the right thing, the kid was hurt and you have a car. And I said back, and ambulances are a thing and I'm a total stranger to this kid and like what would have happened if the kid somehow got more hurt while in my car, not trying to catch a case. So am I the idiot for not giving the kid a ride to the hospital? Not the idiot. Taking charge of an unknown vulnerable kid you don't know without their parents' consent? Nope, nope, nope. Moving someone with a severe break can cause further damage if you don't have medical training. If ambulance didn't exist and no adults the kid knew were reachable, I would have driven him, but ambulances do exist. So, OP, you did the right thing. Honestly, the other kids and OP's girlfriend might not be the idiots, but they sure are stupid. Moving someone with a broken leg and transporting them in a car not designed for securing injured people could have made things so much worse. If they were in the middle of the wilderness and OP's car was the only option within 50 miles, then they might have had a point. But that's not the situation here. Calling an ambulance was the only call to make in that situation. You're correct in thinking that the kid could have somehow gotten hurt more in your vehicle. Also, I can't believe an ambulance ride is only $50 in Canada. I live in California and was recently in a bad accident 3 blocks away from the hospital, and my ambulance bill was almost $2,000. I, teen male, am going to be driving soon. Over the years, I've saved up a not insignificant sum of money. Soon I shall buy a car for myself, and I will be liable for all expenses around it. My phone is also getting very old and is nearly inoperable at this point, so I intend to buy a new phone soon. My mom is a stay-at-home mom. She intends to get a job when I get a car and can handle my own business. I thought buying a car would be a rather straightforward process, but alas, here we are. Every car I find isn't good enough for my parents. That's too old, too fast, bad for the environment, too dangerous, etc., etc. This has been going on for the better part of a year of me looking around. My parents regularly censor my phone and always track it with the phone. I do not appreciate this one bit, and they know that, but fair enough, this one was bought for me and they pay the bill for it, so that gives them a more significant say over what happens with it than usual. This phone is ancient at this point and is barely functional, so I told them that I was going to buy myself a new phone with my own plan, or I could pay them for whatever I use on theirs. So, a few days ago, we discussed these things, and it got pretty heated right out the gate. They basically told me that I couldn't buy any car older than 15 years, rear-wheel drive, had a high rollover rate, had an average fuel efficiency under 25 miles per gallon, or didn't have traction control. I told them that I didn't like those terms and would rather save my money for college than buy a car I didn't want. They then said if they had to, they would simply take my money and buy a car they thought was right for me. I told them that if they did that, I would consider it theft and I would not use the car under any circumstances. Then came the phone. Very similar conversation. I told them that I didn't want them tracking and censoring me, and they threatened to take my money and give me the new phone, to which I said I simply wouldn't use it and I would consider it theft. Now they call me an ungrateful, selfish idiot who doesn't know how good I have it. I, however, can't help but see these as totally reasonable things to want that I worked for. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. How are you ungrateful when spending your own money to buy these items? I can understand their car restrictions. They want you to have a solid, reliable car. But to threaten to steal your money and buy something you don't want is messed up. Just keep saving. You'll be free of them in a few short years. Make sure you put the money into your own bank account, which you only have access to. If you're in the US, many banks have student accounts that don't charge you monthly fees and other perks. My mom took my car savings out of my bank account and surprised me with my own car on her name. LOL. It was terrible. I hope the same doesn't happen to you, OP. Everyone's the idiot here. I don't think their list of car requirements is outrageous, and you're an idiot for saying you don't like the terms. What are you trying to buy, a 1990s Jeep? But saying they'll take your money and buy you a car is ridiculous. The phone is a non-starter. You're still a child, not 18. Tracking and monitoring a teen's phone is not good. If you don't trust your children at that age, you've failed as parents. Parents who put trackers on their kids' phones are total freaks. This kid is responsible and self-sufficient. This kid has good self-management and works hard. The parents are way out of line for wanting to track their kids' movements, and threatening to steal the kid's hard-earned money is contemptible. The statement that this kid is ungrateful for being given food, shelter, and other basic care is incredible. Throwing the bare minimum of parental care in this kid's face as something that should motivate the kid to give up all autonomy is ridiculous. Both my kids' school and daycare have been shut down till further notice. Daycare and school is in the same building. Unfortunately, they haven't given us a return date. I'm an essential worker and work nearly 60 hours a week in the ICU. My husband is an EMT. Unfortunately, we live in a small town, and that daycare is quite literally the only one within a 60-mile radius. My grandmother offered to come to stay at my place and watch the kids until they could return to school. Her home is an hour and 15 minutes away, and we have to leave by 5 a.m, so we planned that she would come to stay with us and bring her home on our days off, so she isn't trapped here, you know. We all need space, and I get that. I was very thankful that she even offered to do this because I never asked. With that said though, I wouldn't let her do this for free either. I told her I would pay her $300 a week, which she claimed was too much, but that's the number I felt comfortable with. Anyways, I was due to pick her up this evening when I returned home from work. She called me this morning at 7 a.m. and told me that she'd changed her mind and she thinks I should just drop my kids off with her every morning and pick them up in the evening. That would mean that my kids and I would have to be on the road at 3 a.m., something I will never be open to or willing to do. I told her that wouldn't work as it's incredibly inconvenient. She then said, well, the whole situation is inconvenient and we all have to make sacrifices. I simply told her I would find someone else, knowing full well that I had literally no other option. She's saying I'm an idiot and have made her feel like garbage or worthless because I won't accommodate her needs. Her needs are this. She wants to be in the comfort of her home to watch her soaps in peace, which is fine, but I won't get my kids on the road at 3 a.m. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She made a generous offer and then retracted it last minute, leaving you to scramble. Of course, if you want to preserve the relationship, you can gently point out that if coming to your house doesn't meet her needs and going to hers doesn't meet yours, then there's no way this could ever have worked, and making other arrangements is the only thing to do. But I'd honestly be feeling a little standoffish after this, personally. I can't imagine daycare-age children at 3 a.m. combined with exhausted parents at 3 a.m. I have no kids and likely never will, but I do remember being a child myself, a nightmarish one no less. You'd be stretching yourselves thin by agreeing to her arrangement. I've worked with EMTs before, and it's a tough job that I wouldn't be able to do. What your grandmother suggested was extremely unreasonable. Find someone else that will work on your and your kids' schedule.